Hello everyone, today we're going to be making Gizmo from the Gremlins. We'll also add a Be Mine heart to give him a Valentine's Day twist. We're going to start out with 5 4-inch round cakes and some vanilla buttercream. I'm stacking 3 of our cake layers for the body, then adding our support dowel and adding an additional 2 layers for the head. Once we have everything stacked, we're just going to round out our edges. It's pretty wobbly right now, but we're going to fix that with a thick layer of chocolate ganache. We make our ganache here at the shop with a 2.5 to 1 ratio, 2.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips to 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Then we just melt it in the microwave and whisk until smooth. I decided I wanted our belly to be a little bit rounder on the sides, so I'm making a cake pop clay out of the chocolate ganache and our chocolate cake scraps, and then just added them to the side until I'm happy with the shape. Then just finishing it off with a smooth coat of ganache. This doesn't have to be perfect because there's going to be a lot of texture in this cake. While that's setting up in the refrigerator, we can start working on our isomalt eyes. I've printed out 2 brown irises on edible image sheets. Then I'm just matching them up to the size that we would like to use for the eyes in our sphere molds. I've melted down some clear isomalt in the microwave in a silicone bowl. And now I'm just going to fill up our sphere molds about 3/4 of the way full and making sure they're as even as possible. Then adding white food coloring to the remaining isomalt. Now it's time to place our irises face down in the center of our eyes. Be careful to not press them down too firmly and just make sure they're as centered as possible. Then filling in the backs of the eyes with the white isomalt. We'll pop these in the fridge to set up quickly while we work on our ears. I started out by drawing a rough template of the ear, then bent aluminum armature wire to the shape. After we roll out our modeling chocolate about 1/8 of an inch thick, we're going to use our template and cut the ear out, leaving about 1/8 of an inch at the top. That will help us secure it to the wire. I'm covering my aluminum wire in edible glue, then laying my ear on top, leaving that 1/8 of an inch, and then folding it over to help secure it. Once I have that done to both ears, I can add my lines and texture. We'll set those aside to firm up while we demold our eyes. To clear up the isomalt, I'm just going to lightly go over the surface with a torch. This will pop any air bubbles. Then I'm going to add a layer of edible glaze spray. This will keep them nice and shiny and give them a protective coating. Using a circle cutter that's slightly larger than the eyes, I'm going to go ahead and mark in where I'd like the eyes, then take a knife and carve out some cakes so we can place them in. Using the same modeling chocolate from our ears, I'm going to add in our eyelids and his mouth muzzle area. Now it's time to add our ears. I gently push it into the side of the cake, and I don't want to put too much pressure on that modeling chocolate, so I use my scissors to help me press it in the rest of the way. Now I'm just using a little bit more modeling chocolate to secure them to the cake. Now it's time to start adding our fur. What's nice about fur texture is you don't have to worry about smoothing seams. Adding the texture to the fur is going to blend the different colors together so that we can add it in multiple pieces. I'm just using my reference picture to know where the different colors should go on his fur. I want his cheeks to be a little bit larger, so I'm just adding pieces of modeling chocolate to bulk them out.
Soundstripe.
Now it's time to add our fur texture. I'm using the smaller end of my Dresden tool and then just pushing in and pulling back to make our fur lines. You want to overlap your lines, especially where the colors merge. The harder you press, the longer your fur will look. You just want to make sure that you don't press through to the cake. And if you do, it's not a big deal. You can just add another piece of modeling chocolate. Once I'm happy with his face, I'm going to do the same exact thing to his body. Once we have them covered in fur, it's time to add our arms and legs using modeling chocolate. Modeling chocolate sticks to itself pretty well, so I'm able to just press them on the side of the cake without using any supports. Before I give them texture, I'm going to add his feet and hands. In my reference picture, the fur sticks out from the edges of his feet, so I'm just adding some extra modeling chocolate before we start adding our texture. I'm adding some cocktail sticks to the ends of his arms to help secure his hands, and then I'm just going to repeat the same process as we did with the feet. I'm adding tufts of hair wherever I want him to look a little more fluffy. His mouth area wasn't sticking out quite far enough, so I'm just going back and adding some modeling chocolate, and I think this makes a huge difference. That's what I love about using modeling chocolate. It has such a long working time that even if you see something later on that isn't quite right, you can always go back and fix it. He's almost done. Now I'm just going to go through and do some shading with some pink with some airbrush food coloring. Using a thin paintbrush, we're just going to go in and paint some fine lines for his eyelashes. And now he's all finished. I added a Be Mine heart to make him the perfect Valentine's Day cake. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe.